All right, moving to our discussion items. Number one, the water wastewater update.
All right, so, the dreaded wastewater update, that was scary for me because I was concerned, we have issues and everybody knows it, but it actually went pretty good. I met Lauren. Lauren's a really nice person. She's quite possibly the nicest state person I've ever met, really. And she's young and she's very personable, very nice. And, usually you don't get that kind of demeanor with people that work for the state. I mean, not that they're mean. I mean, Nicole's the sweetest she can be too, but she just, you would never know that she was a state worker. I mean, her whole demeanor and everything, she's really nice. So anyway, the North Carolina Division of Water Resources conducted an inspection of the town of Fontana Dam wastewater treatment plant on September 13th of 2022. This inspection was conducted to verify that the facility is operating in compliance with the conditions and limitations specified in collection system permit number, our permit that we sent in, WQCSDO 337. A summary of the findings and comments noted during inspection are provided in the enclosed copy of the letter or the report. The collection system non-sampling inspection was conducted by Division of Water Resources staff from the Asheville Regional Office. The following deficiencies were noted during the inspection. A spill response action plan has not been created. She sent me an example to go by so I can get that created for you. It's kind of like a water shortage plan that we had to do, like you have the different phases.
Yeah. A protocol is in
Yeah,
place.
it's a protocol that's in place, yeah. And then the aerial line inspections and annual inspection of the entire collection systems have not been documented. I'm not quite sure how we're going to come into compliance with that. I'm going to have to get Troy to help with that.
Say that again. Say that again.
So it is the aerial line inspections and annual inspection of the entire collection system, which is all of the sewer lines, have not been documented. So they've not been inspected and documented is what they're saying. And we have a lot of them, because we have all of that footage that we did. But this is the entire system.
And I think the fact that we are being asked to do that will maybe help us move forward with that, because I want that.
Right, yeah. Well, that way we'll at least know where everything is.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, we really have, now that we repaired the trunk line, the next aspect was going to be getting up into the village and checking everything and seeing, what we need to do next.
So remedial action should have already been taken to correct this problem and prevent further occurrences in the future. The Division of Water Resources may pursue enforcement action for this and any additional violations of state law. To prevent further action, carefully review these deficiencies and address the causes of non-compliance to prevent the reoccurrence of similar situations. So, but, that's only two things.
Those two aspects.
That was it.
So you got a template to
Yeah, I got a tip for the first one, and I'm gonna have to get more in depth with Troy
I think
on the
that's
second.
That's a good approach.
Yeah, and I mean, we got a plan. We know how to go about fixing it. It's just we could not have any power outages for a while to be able to actually get something done, and I'll get Troy back up here. What were you wanting to say something?
It has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Oh. Okay.
I'm talking in class.
Passing notes, everybody. Share with everyone.
As long as there's not a pop quiz, I'm good.
And so this guy Troy we're talking about with Rural Water is a nonprofit organization
that helps out. Like
state.
they do water and wastewater, and on the water side, we've had them come up many times and help us with leaks, and Troy's come up here many times too. He's done a smoke test on all the manholes and various things they've done. They do a lot of work for us for
kind
free.
of nonprofit public assistance.
We don't have to pay.
For
I put them up
utilities.
in the room. That's
So
what I do.
we get them to come out and help point us in a direction. Maybe they can do the work for us for a nominal price. I mean, they do some contract work.
Yeah, if there's like
Basic
something
stuff.
that they can't do for
Basic
free,
stuff.
but
Yeah.
they all know our situation,
Yeah.
so they try to, and they all like coming out here. I mean, they do. We've been trying to get a hold of Keith Buff, which is a circuit rider for this area, and that's on the water side. And because not Nicole, but Kimberly on the state level is after us about the CT study that we paid Don Price for that
Right.
never came
We
through.
really,
so-
those are two things. Well, we need to get in compliance on our permits
Yeah.
with these two things, and then we've got the contact trace study that on the water side we had it done, but it wasn't to spec. I forget exactly what.
It was
It wasn't done per compliance regs, I don't think.
yeah, because whatever he used to do the testing was erratic, and it was theoretical instead of actuality, and so
So we're gonna have to
they
spend a
went
little
with it
extra
at that
money.
time, but it was not approved.
Yeah.
So, but since then, the guy in the engineer company that we paid a little over $2,000 to do this. He no longer works for the company, and I don't even know where the company's at anymore. So the engineer company. So we're gonna start from ground zero and have it all redone again. And McGill's, I think, wanted like $20,000 to do it. So this is like not cheap. Yeah.
So anyway, I think if we can get a few of those ducks in a row, we'll at least be in compliance on everything with regard to the state, regulations.
And there's also another, I can't remember what it's called, that Carrie's working on now, but that having to do with the state too, and it's pretty big and involved. And
Is it a plan?
It's a
One
plan
of those
thing,
plans,
yeah. And so she's trying to get that pulled together, and Keith is supposed to help her with that too. So I tell you, we'd be lost really without having rural water. They have done a lot of work for Fontana.
We're moving forward, and I'm hoping this off season we can really make a push to move forward on investigations, because we won't be doing nearly as much pumping, won't have as much demand. So hopefully we can do more investigation and possibly do some remediation as we identify.
How the leak's doing? Like there is.
Well, she said it was holding a little bit better today. She said when she came in this morning, she didn't know what time they quit really yesterday, but it was like a foot higher than normal. But next week or next month, she said she'd come in for the meeting because the pools will be turned off by then, and so she'll be able to see. We should be able to get some kind of estimate on how much water is just being lost there, because the float valve did not work. We got one, put it in, it didn't work, so that wasn't it. That wasn't the problem. So a float valve for whatever reason won't
Which
work.
I don't understand. I would be interested to know why. I mean, once it gets so much back pressure, it kicks it off. I mean, it's just a switch.
Yeah, but
I don't understand why a float valve won't work.
Right. That doesn't make sense to me.
it don't though. It don't. So for whatever
Or it
reason.
doesn't reach the limit. That's gonna be the problem.
That's a good possibility that maybe they're installing it too high, and it's just overflowing before it gets to the float valve to turn it off, perhaps. But
I don't
should
know. That would be a
fairly
Jeff
obvious, right?
question.
Yeah.
I don't really know what the issue was. with
We've
it.
got the off season to try to address some
Yeah.
of these things,
Right.
And again, my hope is if we can tackle some of these problems, and at least identify. We don't necessarily have to fix, but if we can know that what we need to fix going into,
Yeah.
and maybe
How much are gonna be?
Maybe get it something in order before next season starts up. And that
Yeah,
could help.
I'm talking more. I do want to do more analysis on the complete system on a water and a wastewater side.
Yeah,
and I think we're going to have the man hours to be able to do that, and that's going to be one of the directives I'm going to kind of give to Carrie to try to follow through on. And Dennis as well. Dennis is kind of heading up the wastewater side,
And he worked hard to get this thing in order so that we would pass the inspection, because he's been battling duckweed down there bad, and getting that cleaned out, and because it'll hide, it'll sink down, then it'll pop right back up when you at least expect it.
but getting into compliance with that aerial assessment, I think that's going to
take outside help. We're not going to be able to do that ourselves.
Right.
We're going to have somebody that can.
But we need to be involved in the
yeah,
assessment
definitely.
as far as, and then we kind of know, so from the wastewater side, that's going to tell us what we need to,
What else?
anything that needs remediating.
Well, we know several areas already up there around the grill.
And I want to kind of do the same thing on the water side, to tell you the truth, if we
Yeah.
can. That'll be something maybe we'll ask Troy about,
Yeah, well, he would probably just direct us back to Keith or somebody like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
on the water side.
Okay.
Another thing that we've been trying, and we've talked about many times before, our chemical tanks are bottom feeders. You know, that means that the chemicals come out through the bottom. So because all the chemicals set around all the fittings, it erodes those fittings all the time, and we get chemicals that leak down there because the barrels aren't, they're leaking. And some of those chemicals that they mix, it's very combustible, it's dangerous. So we've been trying to switch to a top feeding system, you know, to where the chemical comes out of the top. That way it's not setting against any fittings or anything. Jason, when he was here, had gotten an estimate of $550 per barrel. Well, now that's probably going to be more. So, but Carrie's supposed to be getting a call tomorrow about it, and she wanted to know if she could go ahead, like if it's like 600 and under, with the council's permission, can we go ahead and get those barrels and switch over?
How many tanks are we talking?
4.
Okay.
I mean, it's expensive,
3
but
grand?
you know,
Is that going to include the feeder pumps and everything to pull it out?
well,
of the
we've
tank,
got
or-
right now. We've got we've got top
repurpose?
feeder pumps that we're using right now.
Oh.
You know, we're running. I think they're running like a thing in it, like just a valve, or you know, not a valve. What am I talking? A tube in it, and they're feeding it out that way. But you still got all the fittings and stuff down at the bottom.
We've replumbed it, but
Yeah.
we've got it functioning as a top feeder.
But it's just that we need to get the
I see.
actual tanks in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is the pump gonna be the same one?
Huh?
Changing it, the pump is gonna be the same, it's gonna work
Yeah,
out?
we've got the pumps already in place for it, you know, so yeah, that won't be, we
Sounds
just
like they
bought
already
a
made
bunch of
some
money for that.
modifications.
Oh.
They just want to go ahead and make the switch to have tanks that basically don't have holes.
Well,
in them.
and that won't leak, because that's a big issue. I mean, that could really, I mean, you could fry your lungs, you could, chemical burns on your skin. I mean, if some of that stuff mixes, it creates a very poisonous fog. We definitely don't want none of that, so. Yeah, right now they're holding because they've eroded so much that they've kind of sealed themselves, you know, but she's low on a bunch of chemicals, and she's going to be calling them next week to bring chemicals. So it'd be good if they bought the tanks and we just went ahead and switched over. And we can keep those tanks that we have already for, like, if we have to do some cleaning out of some, or, you know, we have something stored in.
I would recommend we pursue it. We've been dealing with this pretty much. It was a point of discussion whenever they built the plant. And
Yeah, Don Price, that was one thing he said, this is not gonna work, coming out the bottom like that. And he was right on that.
There was some debate, and ultimately, you know, the folks that kind of knew a little bit more about what was going on.
Engineer company.
They won out for whatever reason. Maybe that's kind of the direction that things are going, but you would think that other plants would have experienced
And we were all too
similar
naive
problems.
to really know too much about what was being said at that point too, in regards to that, you know?
Well, you lean on the people with the expertise.
Right.
And whenever the people with the expertise are debating 2 different avenues, courses of action, then, I mean, ultimately, I guess, you know, sometimes cost wins out, sometimes supply wins out. You know, if you've got immediate availability of one system versus having to wait around for another system, that can make a decision for you as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know why it went the way it did, but you know, we just got to resolve it and move forward, and you know.
So are you guys all right with me pursuing
600
it?
is enough, because that's been several years, I would say.
Well, no, just last year. It's just
Oh,
been
just
since last year.
So I'm gonna say, I would say it might be as much as 650.
Well, it could be.
That's
It
what I was
really
gonna
could
say.
be,
We
you know?
we might say if the cost estimate is somewhere in the 3,000 to 3,500 neighborhood, I would be
For all of them, yeah.
for all of it. I would
Yeah.
think that'd be a reasonable.
Yeah.
You know, really under 4. If it's over 4, I would be like, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Allow
But we
$1,000.
still, even at that, let's hope to goodness that it isn't, but even at that, we still though have the problem of this stuff leaking out into the floor in there. Now granted, there's a cement thing running, so it doesn't get all the way out to the water plant, but you know, that, I mean, for $500 a tank versus somebody's lungs getting fried, you know, so I mean, I think.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why I say we should have a higher budget.
I think it's worth up to 3,500 to $4,000.
Yeah.
You know, I want.
If it's something that absolutely blows my mind,
Yeah.
I will send out an email and say, "Oh my goodness," you
Yeah.
know. And maybe we can wait until hopefully prices could go back down, but things about that, it might go up even
or
more.
maybe we could selectively choose the tanks that are most caustic
Yeah.
and most problematic, and at least get those done, you know?
Right.
Because I forget what we talking, alum?
And then
It's the
caustic
the
stuff.
caustic, yeah, that's the
That's the bad stuff. And then, yeah, if it mixes, there's another one that's in there that if it mixes with causes massive
Well, just
problems.
get the estimate and chat with me, and I think if it's anything that's beyond the scope of what we're talking about here, then
Well, I will let you know.
we'll pop an email out and we can all talk about it individually with Zell, so we don't violate any open meeting laws. But we can, but assuming this not, it hasn't doubled in price or
Right.
something like that, then I think we should be okay.
Yeah, well, she's supposed to let me know tomorrow, so hopefully that would be something that we can actually get in and have working next week, which would be phenomenal then.
Okay. All right, anything else on the water wastewater side?
I don't believe so.
Right on.
Well, I have one question though. We talked and approved of the resort, being able to do the payment for the water bills and stuff. I wanted to ask you, what if you have two people in the household, like let's say Hunter and Dalen, what if they both want to pay? I mean, how would that work?
We would just set it up so it was $25. We would just have.
So you would just, but what I'm wondering is because if I send out an email and say, if you got two people in the household that you want me to come out of both checks, that can be arranged, right?
It can be. It's the
Okay.
same thing. You would just multiply the 25 times the 12 and then
Okay.
divide it by.
I just
the
didn't
number
want
of
to throw that
paychecks.
out there and then you say,
No, that's absolutely fine. We have a lot of people that split their rent, and then we also
Yeah.
have people. A lot of the houses where there's couples, though, it usually comes out of one person's
Right.
check. It doesn't usually come out of both.
right. Yeah, but I was more concerned about roommates than couples, I mean,
That's no problem.
okay, all right, then I'm preparing a letter now to go out with, but I'm kind of putting it off till the first of the year to give people time, and I'm putting in there that the only way you're eligible for this is if you're in current with your water bill. In the hopes, because there's some people that really need to get current, so that would be, give them time to do that. If they were so inclined.
We have still.
Probably 4.
Really?
And the 2 that's on, they're getting notices, and if it's not paid by Monday, their water is gonna be cut off. And one, to get it turned back on would be $700 if they don't pay it. With late charges and the reconnection fee, yeah, $700. So I'm hoping, I wrote it on the bottom of the thing, and I know they see it and read it.
They
So.
know it, yeah.
And then Monday morning, if I have not heard from them by Monday morning, then David will take the yellow knob holder, and put on the door.
My daughter's good, right?
Yeah, she's good. And you're good. And you're good. Yeah, and you're
No surprises.
good. The council is in good standing. It's all right.
I was just gonna take care of my daughters if she has.
No, they're fine. They're fine. My main concern was I just want to make sure that I could state that, you can have it split between two people. If you got-
Absolutely, no
okay.
problem.
All right.
I split their rent now, so it's not a big deal.
That works for me.
I was still thinking of doing the meters for
Well-
the water.
We are at some point in time, but that's not as pressing as, getting the lines fixed and,
Well, if we were to do meters, it wouldn't necessarily be meters at each location.
Yeah,
It would be, meters at key, like say
Spots.
junction points, and that way we can, more for investigation and analysis purpose than billing.
yeah,
Because we want to be able to say, ooh, there's a lot of water going through this particular place here, which tells us to focus over here if we don't see that we have obvious usage. That would kind of tell us, we got to
so
leak
like,
over here,
I'm
basically.
thinking the resort, we'd have something up there. Maybe would we do the marina out that way, just so that we could see, that would include the whole thing. but-
You could put them at key places with the marina, since we installed that new line.
It won't be the first place to put
Right,
one, but
exactly.
maybe the laundromat. I would say places where there's a lot of water, the pools, where if all of a sudden where you're seeing this amount, all of a
Right.
sudden it kicks into overdrive, you know that there's a leak in this area,
exactly. Yeah,
And
and
so-
that's going to be kind of number one. We have to have a good understanding and knowledge of our system,
Right.
and so then we can say these are the places we want to stick them. So that's where having, some, a good map of our system. We've got an okay map, but it's not really an as-built. It would be
Right.
really nice if we could, figure out, kind of like this aerial assessment of the wastewater. It would be kind of nice if we had something similar.
We've tried to
water
get
side.
that from TVA, and they can't really locate any of the maps. I mean, we got as
No,
close
we
as we
tried.
could get.
They were really old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it says on the top, not very accurate.
And we may have to actually generate a plan ourselves.
Oh, we are gonna have to.
How
And there's-
bad are the leaks? Like how?
Well, some of them are really bad. I mean, we have operated with as much as 80% water loss.
Oh,
Right,
wow.
80% of the water that we are treating, we have lost, and now we're still up at what, 60?
60.
Yeah, at least.
Wow.
So 60% of the water we treat is going, who knows where.
We're only using 40% roughly. That's an estimate
Yeah.
of the water that we make is being used. 60% is being lost. So that's
Yeah.
pretty
And the
inefficient.
state don't like that because
That's
I
another
guess there's too many areas where things could
Infiltrate.
contaminate,
Yeah,
and
contaminate.
so, yeah, they don't like that.
But those
Definitely
blueprints,
priority.
they're not supposed to when they're gonna do a new construction or something, those blueprints are supposed to be somewhere like in.
Well, you would think, but
Well,
they're just so old. I mean, and
in the
people,
40s,
and that wasn't as
because the
important.
standards and building code and everything was different.
And not only that, but at the same time, when they were doing that, they wasn't doing it with the expectation of it being here 80 years later.
Right.
They were doing it for the workers and
Yeah.
for that time.
It was only intended to really be there, probably somewhat temporarily.
5 to
didn't
10 years.
They didn't envision it going from a work camp to a resort.
Right.
So,
So they didn't, the documentation might not be.
so it wasn't really, and there was the plan, and then there was really no as-built. How much did you deviate from the plan? There was just, okay, the plan's generally what we did, but not to mention they didn't have, you're doing everything traditional surveying versus nowadays a lot of it's GPS based. So.
And then you also moved from the camp was down by where the marina was at one time, and then over off on the side of the road there was where a lot of tents and stuff and camping was. So as the dam progressed, the village moved, So, there just wasn't a whole lot of order about it, I don't think.
So we've tackled some of the losses, and my hope is that we're gonna have some extra man hours this off season. I'm really hoping I'm gonna push to keep identifying problems, because we can't fix problems we don't know are problems. So that's the first step, really.
Yeah.
So. All right. So the ethics video.
Yes, I purchased those videos. Everybody should be getting the link to watch them. So you need to watch them and turn in the
Tiff
sheet
and I will
paper.
get together and have a movie night with the ethics video.
Yeah. And then there's a
Then you guys can do a presentation of it and
Yeah, I
we'll
got
be all
it
set.
now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
yeah. There you go.
Just put the movie
you know,
screen off the ball field, that's what you do.
You also have at the end of it there is a certificate you need to print out that states that you watched it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can just save it, it'll probably be a PDF.
But it should be in your
or something
email
like
too,
that.
Lacey. You should have received
got
it.
it?
Well, a lot of it, that's why I was asking her, because a lot of
Yeah.
things I just get rid of if I don't recognize it, so
Right.
I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna look now in my.
Well, it would be from School of Government, isn't it?
Yeah.
When did you send it?
School of.
Today. You
Oh,
should.
there it is.
Yeah.
Yep, I deleted it.
You did delete it.
It's not very ethical, Lacey.
I know.
It came through. Looks like about 2:20.
You probably have to
2:32.
resend it to me, because I probably deleted it and deleted it out of trash.
Oh, boy.
I'm pretty good about that, huh? Yeah.
I try to keep that empty.
Let's see. I don't know how to. I wonder how. Well, surely.
You got it though, right?
Well, she,
Oh, you deleted it, okay.
it should have been today about 2:20 or so. 2:30
They're
somewhere.
all gone though.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I forward it to her?
Well, it won't have her
Is it,
name on it.
is it specific
yeah.
to,
Each one should have, but it's all for this, I had to buy individually, so I bought 5 subscriptions to it, and it's from the School of Government,
When do we have to have that done by?
October or November, which is it, a year,
yeah.
so by November.
Oh, so we can just,
Anyways.
Yeah,
so I
huh?
can just go through it now and.
Yeah, and just print out that certificate so I can put it in your files, that proves that you're an ethical person.
Yes.
Anyway, I didn't know it was gonna progress that fast. I thought it might take a day or two, but I got the confirmation in my email that you guys all got it, so I was like, okay, good.
Okay, cool.
So,
Any questions about the ethics video? We're gonna try to get her another link.
yeah, I will try, yeah.
All right, financials.
And probably just for you, just because you're not familiar, anything that the School of Government, League of Municipalities, either of those 2 places, if you get anything from them, especially if my name's on it too, then it's probably important.
I don't think it
Let's
has
see,
your
I
name on it.
It might not have,
It
it might
just
not
said
be, but it,
UNC School of
Cause see, I
Government
kept
side.
looking for your
It
name to
just
get
said,
your.
I saw school, so I opened
Your
it,
message.
and then it
Right.
said ethics, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it says your registration for legal. I get stuff like that 50 times a day.
Yeah.
Your registration is free.
well,
Yeah.
those two things, School of Government and League of Municipality.
I will pay more attention.
Yeah, those are the only 2 things that maybe I will send out like notices too if it's something that, you know,
Yeah, be on the
attention,
lookout.
be on the lookout for this, yeah.
Do not delete.
Do not delete this. Is not junk.
And if you do delete, don't delete the
This
deleted.
is not junk.
Hold on to it for a day.
My bad.
Mine should be on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
So I just have a lot of
Dedicated.
emails coming.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing though, just because I know we haven't done a lot of talking about this or anything, but you know, a lot of stuff having to do with the town, you gotta say, because it's open record laws, and if anybody wanted to come in and see, you know, Lacey, what do you got on your email from the town in regards, you know, you would have to be able to pull that up, so. Save it under, yeah, there's legal.
It would be subject to an FOI,
Yeah.
Freedom of Information.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But usually there's a specific reason for it, an
Like, yeah.
investigation, you know, there's some,
Frauds,
somebody
you know,
suspects
some-
some funny
yeah.
business and they're starting to
Yeah.
look at, you know, or sometimes you have internal strife, like what's going on over at another place where, you know, folks might be wanting to see who's colluding with who
Right.
on stuff and whether or not they're conforming to open meeting laws and things of that nature, you know.
And we always, every year, get requests from, gosh, what is the name of that guy that every year wanting to know,
Gillespie.
yeah, no, it's like, it's an open meeting law thing, you know, asking for a certain time frame of stuff, and I have to look all that stuff up and send it to him every year.
Because technically, if 3 of us are together, we're not supposed to talk town business directly, especially
Because then it's
with regard
considered a
to
meeting.
a decision that's being pondered or whatever. You typically want to have those conversations one-on-one with someone. You know, if you have a question, you can talk with me, or you can talk with Lacey, or you can talk with Rachel, or you can talk with Tiffany. But for 3 of us or more to get together, that's technically a quorum. And that's a meeting, and that's not advertised, and the public's not available to that. So that's why they want to make sure that people aren't trying to undermine open meeting laws. I mean, and honestly, during COVID, there were some concerns about that I had at certain levels of government. You know, people were trying to push things in a certain direction, and you could tell.
Not necessarily here, not with
Not
us,
here,
but with the bigger
no.
county government. Yeah.
Further up the chain than us.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really say anything, but, you know, just decisions seem like they've already been made, you know, before you even get to a meeting. And then some of those meetings weren't necessarily even open, even though they should have been. They weren't advertised. So
Yeah.
you gotta be careful about that. If somebody really wants to kind of get in your business and call you out for something they perceive as a problem, if you're not doing it right, ignorance isn't necessarily an argument, you know.
And ignorance is not an excuse when
Right.
it comes to government, you know. So we're fortunate in that most of the stuff that we do here is so little, and that doesn't excuse us from following the law, but it's just that there's not very much that we could get caught up in because we don't have that much, you know. But it has been proven through this other place that it doesn't take a whole big city to get a person in trouble. So
And a lot of times I
yeah.
think once you start getting politics involved, you know, you got different parties and you got different vantage points and perspectives on things, and you're on one side of an issue or another side of an issue, now you get a battle going. And now that's a lot of times I've noticed when, you know, those lines get real blurry on what you know, can or shouldn't do, you know.
I think that
And
the
that-
last time that we even had where not everybody was in favor was back when Sarah was the mayor.
Yeah.
Ever since then, everybody's been in favor.
Yeah, a non-unanimous decision.
yeah.
You know, where you have, you know, different people thinking you should go in a different direction.
Right.
And I welcome that. I welcome
No, I do too.
people-
I think it is good.
I want people to be comfortable with the direction we're going with on an action item. And if you have questions, certainly ask them. But, you know, like I said, a lot of times it goes beyond, say, logic or argument discussion. When I say argument, I just mean like legal argument, you know, making a case, stating a position, trying to convince someone, you know.
This is the way they should go.
Yeah, I mean, this is my thinking, and I think it's a good, sound, logical, objective view.
Or if you're a person that can, you know, like can get financial gain from it, and you'll learn a lot of that about this when you're like watching the ethics video.
Conflicts.
Explain a lot of that.
If there's a specific conflict of interest, then you pretty much have to kind of step away from a decision on that particular issue. Like if you stood to profit, say you had a business and they were looking to, you know, perform, you know, some service for the town or something to that effect, then you really couldn't be involved in whether or not that should happen.
Okay.
You know, but that doesn't really pertain to us. A lot of these things don't really happen for us, so that's why we don't spend a lot of time talking about it. If we were in a position where that were a concern, I would
We would
speak
make,
up
yeah,
and
I would definitely
say,
make sure all of that
know,
stuff was made clear to everybody before
Yeah.
it ever got to that point.
We've been doing this long enough to where we kind of know where some of the little sinkholes, the trouble spots can be. So anyway. You got some financials for us there,
I
Zach?
do. So general fund, we have $171,233.58. Our utility fund is $44,311.43 for a total of $215,545. It's a little bit less than what it was last, but we had, the reason for that was because we had that pass through in the utility fund.
Yeah.
Just like a $20-some thousand check.
Now, these electrical burying the lines and whatnot, are those being,
No, that's not being run through the resort. I mean, who is doing that? Is TVA just doing that out of pocket with them? Yeah.
No, we're paying it.
But it's just going through the resort. It's not going, which is weird because the electrical lines are ours too. So that is
Well,
kind of strange.
I think the reason why is because it's specifically the stuff for the lodge. I think it's not,
For the whole, okay, so it's just for up there. It's not for the whole.
yeah. I think that might be why they were doing that, but I'm not 100% sure, but I can ask.
Yeah, or I
Okay.
can text Mitchell and find out about that too.
I think a big
I would
part
be
of it
curious.
is just, they're just burying the part to the lodge or something.
I mean, it doesn't bother me that that
technically that feeds the whole village, doesn't it? Now, I don't know, there's not another feed line that's feeding the village besides that one that I know
yeah,
of.
that's true.
I know, I don't know all the specifics on it because they don't usually tell me that. I just pay what they tell me to pay, but I think a lot of it was,
Write the check.
yeah, I just do that. They said I just pay it. I think they're just updating the equipment. Like, it's not really, they have to update the equipment, which is like, they're just burying, it's not even a large amount they're burying. It's just a section.
Yeah,
But maybe
but it's
part-
still, I mean, it still seems weird because, you know, that we did it with the tree clearing and all of that, you know, so
Yeah, I
that
mean,
had
the
to do
tree-
with the electrical lines.
Yeah.
And so it just does seem kind of strange, but it's not, you know, I will get with Mitchell and find
I mean,
out,
just-
you
I
know,
mean-
just out of curiosity
Yeah.
more than anything.
Or it
It's
might be
not,
just going through TVA, because I don't know.
yeah,
I don't think we've paid anything. I mean, not since I've been doing it, we haven't paid anything specifically for that.
Oh,
Right.
okay. So maybe it just hasn't come up yet. The billing side of it hasn't really come up.
Maybe, but usually they are pretty prompt about their billing.
Maybe,
yeah. Yeah, TVA may be slacking some things, but not about that.
reach out to Mitchell and just
I
ask
will.
him, you know, what's going on with that, and if there is an inconsistency, maybe try to get an explanation as
Yeah.
to why. Just so we'll understand in the future
Yeah.
whether or not it's going to be under the umbrella or not.
Yeah,
Because usually they're pretty good about.
yeah,
us.
he usually
Yeah,
reaches out to
He
me.
usually tells me, like, we have to give it to Zell.
Yeah.
We pay it and then.
It's a convoluted way of doing things anyway, but
It
still.
is, but
Yeah.
technically, if
It is, it keeps it clean.
Yeah, if we're responsible for all things power, and TVA is essentially our, you know,
Power company.
we've signed our sort of power of attorney, if you will, over to them with regard to that utility. You know, then, you know, because remember we signed that paper
Right,
whenever they took things on. We basically said, you handle it.
yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, I'll find out a little bit more about it.
cool. All right, Z truck update.
Well, the only thing I know I told you, but we hadn't told the rest of the council that I finally got a hold of that guy and the stuff now they're like, David had put in there he wanted a new rear end in the truck, but they were like, that's just too big of a project, we're not gonna do it. The rear end's not tore up, he just doesn't like it because it's geared so low, you know, but I told him to go ahead and fix it. It's probably gonna be around $3,000 to get it fixed,
Was
but
it radiator?
yeah, there was a radiator, a coil, heating coil, or what do you call that?
Ignition coil?
Huh?
Ignition coil?
No, an ignition. It had to do with the heating and cooling in it.
Oh, heater core?
Yeah, maybe that's it. And because it always kept overheating, and a couple of other things, you know. So emergency brake again
E-brake.
was one of them.
Can they do an extra heavy duty one on that this time?
Well, they did it the last time, you know, but the problem is, it's just like you said, you know, when they stop somewhere, even if they turn the truck off, it's still rolling, you know, it won't hold it, even in low
I
gear.
mean, how many times a day are they mashing on that? Probably
Wow, every time,
50.
I mean, you know, every time you go
50
this
times
far
a
and
day
then you
for
press it down.
7 days a week. It's it'll stretch an emergency e-brake cable out in a hurry.
So once we get it back though, we need to discuss whether we want to try to keep it and use it or sell it or so we can and get another one, what we need to do. You know, I guess we'll be able to see maybe more what our funds are like then, so.
Plus, we'll be on the next cycle for purchasing as well.
No.
And I know that because of the shortage of stuff at the auto parts level,
Yeah, I mean, it still could be next year before we got it if we
Yeah.
ordered it right now.
getting the
Lacey knows all about that.
If you ordered through the state a truck, and you know the manufacturer may or may not be selling trucks at that point in time. I think Chevy had already cut off selling. Like in the spring, they had already said no more orders, and I guess it's about right now. We just went into the new cycle.
Right.
So we could inquire about purchasing a new truck. And, you know, that's certainly an option. But I know those guys don't like this truck because it's a stick, primarily.
Right.
You know, they want an automatic.
Also, I think the air conditioning and heater wasn't working, which is probably what the heating coil thing is, right?
It would at least affect the heater. You
Yeah.
know? I don't guess we need an AC right now. I mean, the AC could be a compressor. It could be
Yeah.
a leak. It doesn't have.
Well, I know he has it on there though, so I'm sure that was included in their quote, so,
okay.
in making that work, so.
But yeah, we can talk about once we get the truck back, we kind of get it back in service, we'll assess from there whether or not we want to.
But you're
pursue
right, I mean,
another
David
truck.
is like, does not want to use that
No.
truck. I mean, it's like, you can
And I don't
see
wanna-
this like
Yeah.
thing coming out.
done with
Like,
this truck.
I know you don't like the truck, David, but it is the garbage truck, you know, so,
For now.
yeah.
We definitely need 2 trucks, so to me, if we're gonna get another truck, we could potentially go ahead and try to move forward in the order process.
Before we wear this one out.
And then, I wanna make sure we always have some redundancy, because if we get down to 1 truck and something happens to it,
Where we are.
we're dead in the water. We're gonna have
Yeah.
to borrow something from the village temporarily, and I don't even know if that'd be possible.
No, I don't
even
either.
have anything.
That's right,
They
exactly.
have those rental vehicles up there.
They probably wanna
I got
borrow my
5
truck.
of them.
Yeah, you know, but borrowing your truck's what
Hey, can
we
we
do
take
it.
that camper top off your truck and go do it?
Or Dennis's truck. Everybody take Dennis and David's truck both because they're both short
Oh,
beds.
garbage, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so any idea when we're gonna possibly get that back? They didn't give us a time frame yet?
He told me he'd call me, but I'm going to reach out to him tomorrow. I tried calling today. Now, I was going to call today and then I forgot and time got away from me, but I'm going to try to call him tomorrow and see if we can.
Okay. Have we got any other discussion items aside from swearing Rachel in?
Yeah, we have one other item too, but we'll swear Rachel in first and then we'll go from there.
Put on the spot again.
Yeah, you're on the spot again. We've only done this. How many times have we done that this? Who knows?
I lost count.
He don't even take pictures of it.
It's on double, it's on my second hand at this point in the year.
Yeah, you have to stand. This is official.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get a group photo
So
after.
you just repeat after
Do
me.
you want me to, like, mute so you-
I, Rachel Water.
I, Rachel, what?
You know you're down there. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and law
the Constitution and law
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the state of North Carolina,
of the state of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as council member
as council member
of the town of Fontana Dam,
of the town of Fontana Dam,
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I need you to.
I turned it up so I could hear it. Vacuuming it.
This one?
I had it in my back because our phone's not working on the road.
All right, you had it now, girl.
All right, thanks for signing your life away.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So I need your bank account now.
Access to your 401k.
And all the good stuff.
Yeah, really. That's all we want. That's all. All right, so we do have one more discussion item. Louis, take the blood.
I hate to say that I think that today is gonna be my last meeting with you guys here at the councilwoman.
We just got here.
I know, but things have changed and we got our house, we're getting our house sooner than we thought.
I thought I had heard that, yeah.
So the house was supposed to get delivered yesterday and only takes like 3 weeks for them to put it together and the inspection and everything, so it's faster than what we thought.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm gonna be here for next meeting, so I don't wanna say yes and then I'm not here.
That's fine. I mean, you want to focus on this, the next stage. I get that.
Well, and their
We just-
baby's due soon
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. I mean, so you're in a transitional state, so we
Yeah.
appreciate you being a part of the town for the time that you were here.
So you need to get a picture there of him running out the door
Yeah.
and of her coming
Come in,
in.
yeah. Morning, Sam, you off kind of thing? Yeah, we can do that.
Yep.
Alright, Paige.
He said he would send me a letter, Rose, and I told him he could just email it to me, or he can swing by and give it to me, whichever,
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and we'll get the letter, and then I guess next meeting,
Yeah.
we'll vote to accept it, and that'll be an action item then,
Okay.
whenever you're ready. So, do you know time frame wise, as far as you staying in the village or moving out or any of that?
No, I don't know yet.
Gotcha.
I need to contact Mary. But not yet. They said that by next week they'll give us a more exact time frame. All depends on the inspection.
Yeah.
They back a little bit with that, so that might take a little bit, but
Gotcha.
we'll see.
Yeah, you may be back and forth dealing with that, I suppose. That's gonna be,
Interesting.
a new house can be a bit of a headache getting things.
And a new baby.
And a new
Yeah.
baby. That's not really a headache. Well,
No, but.
No, it is.
Well, it can be a headache, yeah, it does.
She's
Yeah,
at
that's a completely
36
different
weeks
way.
now.
How much?
36
36.
weeks.
Oh, so a month is all you got left, really.
COVID, pregnant, moving, finding a new job. So interesting.
Oh, yeah, a lot on your plate, Louise, bless your heart.
Amber told me today that she's told you she's never doing this again. And I said, which part? All of it. I'm never doing this again.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna make sure she's not gonna try it again.
I hate that we're losing you, though. I enjoyed having you on board,
Yes,
and
we did.
I wish you could have stayed with it. a little
Yeah, I
bit
was interested in learning a little bit of how things work. But
Yeah, it's good. I mean, and maybe you think about, doing it wherever you get to next. What is it?
And if you need
Bristol-
any,
Bristol.
if you need any references or anything, we'd be certainly happy to give you one.
Sure. Yeah,
No.
good deal.
Having said that, Daryl had mentioned to me once before here that, he would be interested in serving on the board. Now, he's leaving for a month or so around the time frame that his granddaughter's going to be born. But he certainly plans on coming back. I think Will actually will still be here, so, that's a possible consideration, but.
Yeah, we'll have that discussion next week. I think Schwa has expressed an interest. I don't know what Craig's situation is like, but he could be another potential candidate as well, depending on, I don't know if he's gonna be in the village long term or longer term or, medium term, I suppose.
Right.
We can't really
I
talk.
don't really know. I do recommend it be a guy if we possibly can, just to keep it a little bit more diverse, so it, and to help you out, Ross.
It's like I'm gonna be like outnumbered or something.
Yeah, well, it could be, you know how that can be, but yeah, so we can certainly pull together some lists, and we've been here before. I've had people ask me, why the turnover? But really, it's just, things change and people move on, and, it's just the way it happens in a resort town, so.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate your time with us.
Yes, we do.
Most
Thank you so
definitely.
much.
Thank you a lot.
thank you for having me.
No.
I'm really mad at you. I can't believe you're taking her.
Taking her right-hand woman there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm very mad at you. I'm not speaking to you anymore.
Talk to the hand.
All right, you got anything else for us on the discussion side?
Nope, I don't believe so, and I didn't really have any action items either, so.
Anybody have anything else that they want to discuss or anything? Or questions? All right, I guess we'll be having the next meeting then on the October the 19th, 5:30. And with that, if we have nothing else, we will adjourn at 6:29.